Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Hope you're doing well. We are continuing our reading of the Fatwas of Imam al Albani, okay, who's a very noble sheikh and has a lot of wisdoms for us, and who I enjoy learning from. Okay, we have a book here that goes question and answer format. Okay, and we're on the next question, which is, what are the ways through which the Islamic world can retain its superiority? Let's begin. Alhamdulillah. Bismillah. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Question: what are the ways through which the Islamic world can retain its superiority? Answer: what I really do believe in is the authentic prophetic hadith, which constitutes a perfect answer to this question, and others like it. The hadith, quote, "If you follow an interest-bearing transaction and become satisfied with agriculture and follow the tails of cow, become preoccupied with worldly affairs, and leave fighting in the way of Allah, then Allah will cause you to be subjugated and suffer humiliation, which will not be lifted until you return to your deen." End quote. So the cornerstone for retaining our superiority as Muslims is returning back to the rulings of Islam. Imam Malik, may Allah have mercy on him, said, quote, "Whosoever innovates something in Islam and considers it as good has surely claimed that Muhammad ﷺ has betrayed what is entrusted to him of the message." Read Allah's words, quote, "This day I have perfected your religion for you, completed my favor upon you, and have chosen for you Islam as your religion." Al-Ma'idah 5:3. So notice here, tails of a cow. It's interesting how there's that bull statue in Wall Street we call the bull market, has a tail, and the bear market, which has no tail. Interest banking, satisfied with agriculture. So what was not part of religion that time, the time of the Prophet ﷺ, will never be part of religion this day. The latter part, i.e. generations of this ummah, will never be rectified except by that which rectified the first part of the ummah. So notice here we're getting this ayat again, that the religion is perfected. So that shows us right there, you're not supposed to innovate. So when we see reformists who are erasing parts of Islam and changing it to kind of modernize it, you are actually going against what the Quran says. There's a difference between trying to interpret it so that you can map out how you navigate your life in the modern era. There's a difference than inserting something new, which is a bid'ah. See what I'm saying? The last sentence is actually the cornerstone of the answer. The Arabs of the day of ignorance managed to follow the right path after the advent of the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ, on whom revelation descended, which provided them with happiness in both this world and the hereafter. So the main basis for a pleasant Islamic life these days is in following the rules of the book and Sunnah. Okay, so following the Quran and the Sunnah. The Sunnah, we have the Sirah and the prophetic narrations, right? Looking at the life and sayings of the Prophet, peace be upon him, of the seal of the Prophet. So hadiths play a huge role in that. This point, however, needs more explanation in detail. For at present, there are numerous Islamic parties and sects, each of which claims to have established a course of life through which an Islamic community ruled by Islamic laws could firmly established to be firmly established. We all know from the Book of Allah and from His Prophet Sunnah that there is one way to accomplish this purpose, which is maintained by Allah, who says, quote, "And moreover, this is my path, which is straight, so follow it, and do not follow other ways, for you will be separated from His way. This has He instructed you, that you may become righteous." Al-An'am 6:153. My path, so the one way. A lot of people get very upset at that one way point. Once the Prophet ﷺ drew a straight line on the earth, then drew other lines on its sides, then recited the previously mentioned verses, tracing the straight path with his thumb and the other two paths. Then he ﷺ said, "This straight path is Allah's, the Almighty, and above each of these paths there is a devil that calls for it." Authentic hadith. Allah the Almighty affirmed this point, saying, quote, "And whoever opposes the messenger after guidance has become clear to him, and follows other than the way of the believers, we will give him what he has taken and drive him into hell. And evil it is as a destination." An-Nisa 4:115. Hell is an evil destination. Think about it. Your Maker is telling you there is a place of torment. When you hear a mom and you're advising your little ones, don't mess around with that bird, it's gonna bite you. Don't pet that dog, it's gonna maul you. Don't run in the street without looking, you get hit by a car. Don't go in the deep end of the pool. All the things we parents do to let them know that there's an evil result and evil consequences, a detrimental consequence to inaction. Of not listening to someone who is trying to warn you, right? Children survive who listen to their parents' warnings about danger most of the time, right? Unless there's other circumstances, right, where Allah takes them back to Him. But I'm talking specifically about how when you're warned not to do something and then you do it anyway and you mess around and find out, it's sort of like that. So when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala warns us that hell is an evil destination, and once you got that knowledge, it becomes clear, like someone's laid it out for you, you've sort of made sense of it in your head, but then you fully place it down and reject it. Well, you were warned, you were showed, you were told, you were advised, you were counseled, you were shepherded, and still you rebelled. Well, there's a destination waiting for you that you ain't gonna like. This verse constitutes a great deal of wisdom. Allah the Glorious mentioned the believer's way right after that of the Prophet ﷺ. The same point was clarified in the Prophet's hadith about the same sex. He ﷺ said, "What I traverse today and my companions," As-Sahiha number 203. So what I traverse today and my companions. So what you look to the Prophet, peace be upon him, and then the companions and the Tabi'een. So here, over and over, we're seeing how hadiths play a role and how history plays a role. It's interesting how in the live stream yesterday, a Quranist was in there and was like kind of getting upset that I study hadiths. But when you look at, and said he was saying we don't need scholars, and quite a lost individual. But it's just fascinating how when you read what the wise ones of Islam write, they quote hadiths and they talk about, you know, that you're supposed to follow the companions. And how do you get to know the companions? Through hadiths. Very interesting. So what is the point in mentioning, they spelled mentioning wrong, the believer's way in this verse? And what is the purpose of coupling it with the Prophet's way, as is mentioned in the Hadith? The answer? These revered companions received the two revelations, the Quran and Sunnah, and the Prophet ﷺ directly, together with clarifications without any mediators between them, as was the case with those who came after them. The Prophet ﷺ said, "A witness sees that which an absentee does not see." Sahih al-Jami, Hadith number 1641. That is why these reverend companions' faith was much firmer than those who came after them. According to the Prophet ﷺ Hadith, quote, "The best of people are my generation, and those after them than those after them." Yeah, they were there, so they got to see. So it makes sense. Once seeing is believing, seeing it for yourself obviously creates a stronger bond. Accordingly, a Muslim cannot only depend on his own personal understanding of the meanings of the Quran and Sunnah. You know, it's amazing that this came up here, and then, you know, somebody was just saying that we don't need scholars. So how trippy is that? He must also be aware of the revered companions' interpretations who received them directly from the Prophet ﷺ, whether words or deeds or commendation. So it is a necessity to join the companions' way of understanding to the way of the Book and the Sunnah. There arises another important question, to which many of the Islamic sects and parties pay no heed, and that is, how can one know the way the companions used to follow in applying the Sunnah? That's exactly what I was literally just said that like yesterday. Like, how are you gonna know like the hadiths of Umar bin al-Khattab, like Ali bin Abi Talib? Like, you have all this knowledge in the hadiths. If you toss all that out, you're not gonna know a lot. Even with the Meccan period and the Medina period, and how the Quran was organized and how it's put together, how Uthman played a role, and Abu Bakr, right? They're compiling it, they're organizing it, preserving it. Like, there's so much history there, and if you don't have the seerah and the narrations, you lose a lot. But we know that some hadiths were fabricated, but we still have to make sure that we're doing the best we can and finding out what's true, what's not, and how we navigate those waters. If it goes against the Quran, we reject it. But it's a very difficult task, but nonetheless, we still have to learn. Okay? The answer: there is no way to know their way of applying the Sunnah except via studying the science of Hadith. Okay, this is fascinating. So we'll know the way they applied the Sunnah when we study the Hadith. The ranks of Ahadith, Al-Jarith, wa Ta'dil, and the way of applying all these sciences and Ahadith to determine whether they are authentic or not. To conclude, we say to those sincere Muslims who really want to restore superiority and honor and authoritative power to Islam, and you Muslims should establish two things. First, to revive the Muslims' minds, with help of the ulama, the pure Islamic Sharia free from every innovation. Allah the Almighty has said, quote, "This day I have perfected your religion for you, completed my favor upon you, and have chosen for you Islam as your religion." Al-Ma'idah 5:3. So, helping to get the works of the ulama out there, getting rid of innovation. The second, to apply that which has been revived of pure knowledge in the same way the Prophet's companions did, in all domains of their lives. At this time, they will enjoy triumph granted them by Allah. I cry unto Allah to let all of us Muslims understand Islam properly in accordance to the rules of the Quran and Sunnah, and the manner of the righteous predecessors followed, and to help us act in accordance with this knowledge. So, to act in accordance with this knowledge. He is all here, the ever responsive. As-Salah number 11, page 74, 1414 Hijrah. Fascinating. SubhanAllah. So, studying the science of hadith, that helps us to apply the sunnah. Okay? You would need to revive the believers' minds, and that'll be done with help of the ulama and with the pure Islamic Sharia, free from innovation. Hell is an evil destination. The main basis for a pleasant Islamic life is when you follow the rules of the book, the Quran, right, and Sunnah. There is one way to accomplish getting into paradise. It's by following the way Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has set and not any other way. To not participate in interest banking, not to be overly satisfied with agriculture, and to not follow the tails of cows, aka becoming preoccupied with worldly affairs. Don't forget your spiritual affairs. MashaAllah, he laid down a lot of knowledge here for us. More and more you read the scholars, you get to see the beauty of our faith. And that's why I tell people to read stuff that scholars write, because you'll get to test your mind and you can level up in terms of reading comprehension and critical thinking. Okay? Maybe one day you'll get a question like it and you have a similar answer, right? I hope you enjoyed, and if you'd like to join my blog and support the channel, www.subscribestar.com/Milahan Archive. Hope to see you there.